e-gaming bets, online betting for every esports fan. Dota 2 and Hearthstone, CSGO and Overwatch, StarCraft 2, the choice is yours. Express bets for multiple matches or live bets on the game you are watching right now. Know your way around Dota 2? Make a prediction for picks and bans. Play CSGO? Discover more than 5 various kinds of bets just for a single map. Daily quests for all participants and all the best choice of payment systems. More than 600,000 users have already made their bets on the spectacular matches since 2011. EGB.com. You know for sure who's gonna win.
Getting tired of playing with the usual skins, but don't have enough money to buy a new one? Get rich fast with csgofast.com. CS Go Fast. It's a strong chance of winning in every game. Several rooms with different game modes. Daily, more than 1,000 games, 5,000 players, and 25,000 skins at stake. You don't need much in order to sweep the board.
Welcome back to the Starladder I-League Star Series Season 2. My name is TomBiz14. Joining me will be Flakes. And, well, we've witnessed a complete turnaround from Cloud9. They had a pretty, well, I don't want to say poor. They did all right on the first map, but realistically, I was a little bit skeptical about this second map, more because I feel like a lot of the time, Optic were making mistakes, rather than the fact that Cloud9 were ultimately dominating. Now, they had some big plays, but you look at sort of these big plays being made, and you say, oh, nothing getting that 4K. Yeah, that was really great. But at the same time, why was that necessary? It came down to a fact where he was sort of caught in a corner. There were 4 players around him. Someone should have taken him down after maybe 1 or 2. Like, getting 4, that's insane.
You say that, but it just didn't happen. There was no one there to corner him off, and it ended up being a catalyst to kickstart what was a 6-round streak, I believe, then to just take things in a very comfortable fashion home. And
yeah,
we can't really knock that one at all. And well, the interesting factor is you take a look at both of those maps, and you take away and you go, well, who picked those maps? On paper, if you didn't know the veto at all, you go, well, okay, they were clearly picked by the respective winners. That's not the case at all. It was actually both teams taking each other's map pick, which is something that's actually surprisingly common, but it's not something we expected to be common, taking into account what the maps were. But of course, now we're on our third and final shebang, you could say. We're over on Cobblestone. This is where it really counts, Tom, because, well, ultimately, this is now a best of 1 for all of those who are concerned, because the winner of this map, they're going to qualify. Not so much for the other.
Yeah, no, this is a huge prospect for either team, a $300,000 land up for grabs at this stage in time. And, well, I'm looking forward to seeing what each team has to offer on this side, wondering whether or not Cloud9 will actually start on the T side of the map. It is the favored side, but not necessarily the side of the map that teams actually choose, just because some teams like to get that CT start, seem to get how many rounds they can actually get on the CT side, and then continue onto that T side and just try and run over their opponent. The same you could say on the opposite side, where they want to start strongly, get themselves rolling, go onto the CT side, and just close out what had already began. And well, on Mirage anyway, obviously you're not going to pick the T side, but you saw the way that it went for Cloud9. They were able to get up to a certain point with the pistol, and then after that it was sort of inevitable. So definitely looking to see which side they're going to opt to choose. In terms of their CT side, they seemed pretty good, although a lot of lapsed mid-control came out into presence on Mirage. Shouldn't be as much of a problem on this map, but definitely going to be looking at the sort of hold that they have, whether they have the sort of 1-4, they have a player as a rotator over towards the connection point, over towards door, and it looks like, well, we're just going to wait and see, because I think they may have stuck to that CT side.
I think if they stuck to their CT side, that's maybe trusting on their setup a little bit, but then at the same time, I do feel like this may favor them better, because with some teams, you take a look at them and go, okay, they start on their CT side, they get perhaps the kind of least comfortable option out of the way, and then they go on to try and pull things back on their second side. The one problem with that is if Optic do just begin to overrun them and deliver an onslaught of a half, they may not even get to demonstrate that T-side. But there is the first track rolling in. It will be Tarek through the damage. Takes down nothing. The smoke's now going to be landing over towards door. We need to see a bit more movement coming out, but it's going to be 2 quick frags coming in nonetheless for both sides, just making it a 2K apiece. Mixwell and Shroud stepping up for both of their teams respectively. But unfortunately, it's going to be Optic the ones coming out on top as Cloud9. A huge one-tap, though, being delivered very swift indeed. Straight to the cranium of Rush, as it will be back to a 2 versus 2.
Yeah, now we're looking at the positional play because Stewie's nowhere in sight. That's a big problem for Cloud9, as the bomb should be fairly comfortably planted. They can even get it into a decent position. He doesn't have himself a kit either, so realistically we're just looking at the positional play of the T's now. They're able to set themselves up Really looking at Dap's position, whether he's actually further into the corner, and it looks like he's just going to be holding. Actually hits the dink instantly. Really nice shot from him, leaving Stewie with the chance to try and rotate himself back in, but he doesn't have any HP now, and that's going to be it. Daps holding that nicely. Shroud may find 3, but that's going to be it.
Very nice round indeed coming out from Optic. Not much to knock about just yet. Of course, we don't want to read into things. It's the T side. It's where you do have that advantage that we discussed in the past. We are looking for, I would say an 11-4. I'm not sure if you agree, but I think 11-4 is kind of the benchmark of what I'd say you should better get in terms of your CT side. As well as on the T side. 10-5, maybe you don't see it necessarily being too common every now and then, but it does happen. But nonetheless, it's going to be the rifles coming up into play, the SMGs soon to follow. And I've got to say, I'm looking forward to the SMGs here, because they can do just, well, they can wreak havoc in a nutshell on Cobblestone if you position them in the right manner. But at the same time, you look at the way they're playing, it's not like they're necessarily going to be up close and personal just yet.
Yeah, they've got a little bit of a long-range hold coming up from Mixer over towards long on A to try and stop any early aggression from the CT side, who have actually purchased up some pistols. Skoodoodle will save a little bit in order to get himself an AWP possibly earlier on. It's definitely an avenue they will look to hold. In the meantime, they've sent the SMG of Daps through a little bit early over towards the A site in order to gain a little bit of information, but hasn't really spotted out too much and forces over a slight rotation from Skoodoodle as well, allowing them a little bit more map control over towards the B site. He is making his way back over though, so there is still the potential for this early push, and now we see Stewie going for an information play, trying to gather up something of where the T's are going, and he will have at least spotted one there, but there are almost 5 players just surrounding that position. 45 seconds coming up on the clock as they slowly build their way into this round, and we're looking at what Daps can do. He's going to be that aggressive push. He only has himself a Mac 10. It's not too bad if he loses it. We'll see both SMGs just combine to find these kills, doing the work nicely, getting up close and personal. Stewie will manage one, but that's going to be about it. However, Skoodoodle gets one more. Automatic can drop a 3rd. That would be nice in terms of damage, losing them a rifle as well, but realistically there's not too much he can do.
We look at it and go, well, it's a nice damage, but there is no round winning potential. Is it actually going to be that one to unfold? Naf will take him down, knocking him down a peg somewhat, you could say. So now Optic, they got themselves on 2. Now this is kind of, we get back into that repeat scenario. We've seen this in practically every single pistol round today. And really, what is there to say? Cloud9, they're limited to just these USBs in play. It's going to be bulk standard pistols, maybe a flash grenade being bought. We seem to see that being a very common move.
Hey, they made it work before.
But it's actually going to be Shroud. He's only going to buy one single piece of utility, and this time it's not going to be a flash. It's in fact going to be a HE grenade.
Yeah, trying to do a little bit of extra damage. I'm not sure how much that will realistically be able to achieve. They boosted automatic, so he'll be able to play a little bit of an off angle, though most teams will check this. It's quite a common spot to play, as it is, well, pretty damn obvious where it is, but still holding a corner, not the worst case scenario. In terms of the position of the CT side, they have gone for 3 over towards the A site, just as an almost stack, because you don't normally see too many players on the A site at all. In terms of where the T's are going, it's sort of still in question, but just the position of the bomb, you can gather that they probably will make their way over towards the B site, use that SMG onto Daps as a sort of info gatherer, or maybe even the Tech 9 onto Naf, and already we're going to see nothing get tagged very, very low. The pushing, though, will catch out Daps, and that's going to be that automatic combination with Stewie to do the work, but now they're just going to go rushing. They've already spotted out a couple of players. This will give away the information they need to just gather their way up and possibly even clean up a few extra frags for free.
Stewie just going to be spamming a couple of shots, but unfortunately, penetrating that door with just a USP, well, the nice dream you might have there, Stewie, but it doesn't look like it's quite going to work out in your favour. That Scar also going to be there trying to repeat similar fate. Naf with the Tech 9, they're just going to be still rattling off these shots, but it's going to be the rifles actually pulling off the penetration, but even then not going to mount in many tags. But Orbi Tower finally claiming the life of Stewie. Looks like Rush is going to take down Skoodoodle. He does just that, right clipping through the edge of that wood. It's now automatic. He's the last man standing, USP in hand. Maybe he can find himself a second frag for the Optic side. But you look at this one and go, if they can find 2, that's a win. Even finding 1, that's ideal, because it will force a rebuy. But then when I look at Optic and go, they still got 2 AKs in play, they have a glue in the hands of Rush. Nafty might have the Tech 9, but of course that's not really going to be a major hindrance when it comes down to deciding to buy an AWP or a rifle. Optic, they're not going to be complaining.
Yeah, the other thing is the one weapon that they lost was the SMG onto Daps, which was just an information gatherer. He was sent out to find out what he can. He ends up falling. It's not too much of a problem. More interestingly for me is what Skoodoodle's going to buy, and he actually goes for the M4. So the save ultimately just ended up with a couple of extra nades and some head armor, which not going to be the most viable position for him. We are going to see the AWP onto Naf, and in terms of build-up into this round, it is going to be the more common 4 players over towards this B site. They're going to use the tree boost, which a position I'm quite a fan of, because unless you specifically Molotov, it is almost always going to find you a frag. In terms of the T's, they're still edging over towards this A side. I think it's more likely they will make this play, but Stewie is going to grab that first. In the meantime, we're looking at an automatic, and he could get caught out here. He has to be pretty careful, because it looks like he was going to go for a rotate there, but changes his mind after only one player is spotted. Now we look towards Daps. He's waiting over towards the sort of drop position to be ready for that split play. But in the meantime, it seems like Cloud9 have reacted fairly well in terms of the fact they've seen no one over towards B, so they've thought, okay, we've got a man advantage, let's leave 3 on the B side, rotate an extra player over towards A.
Indeed, so a good read rolling in, but it's only the bare bones. It's the necessities, and well, necessities is good, essentials aren't what required overall. But then you look at this one and going, perhaps they need just a little bit more to really seal the deal. As the Molotov are going to be raining on down, we see the quick pace rotate coming in from Shroud. He's there ready and waiting. The first frag will come in from Skittle, makes that too, rattling on away, nearly just burns away in the flames, but he's actually going to stay alive. Automatic going to find himself another, drops Snap to the ground. And Optic, well, you might have 3 rounds on the board, but Cloud9, they're going to bring one on in a very successive fashion. No complaints at all. Very clear-cut round. Skittle does cut it very low, but even then the bulk of the damage wasn't really from firepower, it was actually from the Molotov.
Yeah, well, a very clever read, actually, from Cloud9. They decide after that first frag that after not really spotting anything else out, not hearing anything ridiculously overbearing, they decide that they're going to rotate an extra player over, and that extra player is Skadoodle, who ends up doing the initial damage that basically wins them the round. So, really nice stuff in that form. Now they've got to try and do it again. Daps, well, we've already seen how effective those Tech 9s can be, and it's looking like a very aggressive push this time onto the B side. Already taking quite a bit of positioning over Plat, not quite out onto a spot where Stewie can spot them just yet, but he's going to be using the legs of the statue to peekaboo through and see if he can spot anyone early on.
That could be quite fruitful. Unfortunately, not going to be dishing out too much just yet. Tarek, he's now going to be going for the quick, aggressive drop-down position. Stewie just still playing around the fountain, but Tarek's not going to spot him out. Nothing, and Stewie will find 1 apiece. Nothing making it 2, takes down Naf. Nothing coming up with 3 in this round. Stewie going to pick up another, making it 2 for himself. But can we just take a step back and talk about nothing? Because now, again, another crucial round being picked up for his team by deliverance of a 3K, just handing it to Cloud9 and going, well, here you go, boys, I've done all the work for you. Stewie was there to support me, he found a 2K of his own, but yeah, here's a 3K, just out of nowhere.
Yeah, nice crossfire positions coming in from Cloud9, and that rush was just completely shut down. The spray worked out perfectly. He finds all the early frags, and, well, looking at this round, there really isn't too much for Optic to really play with. They're going to go aggressively over towards the A site, taking quite a lot of map control early on, but realistically it should just be a spray down for Automatic. He is going to get surrounded though, and well, initially they get themselves a frag. Tarek even going to have a rifle with some armor to play with after a little bit of extra cash in play, so there is more of a chance for some early damage. They now fall back as well, so not going to overbear onto the A site just yet. They're trying to force rotations. You can see 2 players still waiting over towards that B site. They're playing the mind games with Cloud9 and trying to get themselves around out of nothing.
The thing about that setup is we've seen Flusher in the past be able to walk away unscathed from a position like that where a push rolls in, quick pace towards long. Automatic, on the other hand, just showing that maybe the experience wasn't quite there, because the way he responded was very much kind of a deer in headlights, which means Optic, they're allowed to wrap 3 on from behind up through mid, 2 still from long, just taking the gunfights, ultimately just handing them a free frag. But now you can take a listen on Scar. He's going to be looking to shut this door straight in their face. We'll find one. Tarek going to find one of his own, but Mixwell now picking up 1 on towards Scar. Nothing going to find 1 on towards Nap. Backwards and forwards, it will swing. Nothing coming up with 2 frags. No, that's a nice impact, as it will leave just Mixwell. But he's up on the site, and he's got himself a bomb plant.
Yeah, into a 1 versus 2. Molotov going to make things so much more difficult. He doesn't have himself any armor. If it spreads, he is dead. But the one thing about it not... Oh, that's just bad luck. It spreads at the last second. If he'd been able to sit in that corner, there was actually hope he could get away with that, because they might not recheck that corner. Instead, at the very last second, it spreads, and he is burnt alive. So no love for Mixwell. That was, of course, not a buy round, so not too bad in terms of what we're looking at here. We find them getting 3 kills, also getting a bomb plant. I'd say that's fairly successful.
Yeah, can't knock that one at all. It was very much a shame that luck was not in his favour this time around. But as they say, sometimes saying that the odds will ever be in your favour doesn't always quite work out in the way you originally imagined. So HG is going to be expended very early on, looking to do some damage over towards a long push. Daps has an idea of what's going to unfold, but unfortunately, the timing, not quite in his favour, but still will be an inkling of a push rolling out as Automatic is going to be getting up close and personal. Stewie, on the other hand, looking for a bit of an information play towards B platform. Tarek, he wants to shut this one down right where it stands.
Yeah, this is a slower push coming out from Optic. Not going to really do too much early on, throwing out a couple of nades in case there are any aggressive push coming up from Cloud9. In terms of the B site, they've still got a pretty standard hold, the window position being held at the moment by nothing and able to quickly rotate over to the site if necessary. Still a three-pronged attack currently with one over towards Statue, which will be the AWP of Skadoodle, which we haven't seen too much from just yet. This is still going to leave Automatic in an individual role, but I feel like he relishes these positions, and I think that could work very nicely. In terms of the push, it's still edging towards this B site yet again as the rotators now coming in, the players holding over towards A will gather up with the rest of the team and when we're ready for them to barrel onto the site.
Optic are getting dangerously close towards drop zone though, and there is no information on the C9's hands, which means they could be caught hilariously off guard as now the Molotov will go down, but it's not going to be doing too much. Actually, Shroud waiting to throw it, which could prove to be quite painful, but nothing going to find one. Scar coming up with the follow-up frag on towards Tarek. The pressure being mounted, they're looking to try and bait a response from Optic, but they aren't moving nowhere. They're just standing still like statues. The first man to make some movement will be shot down. Stewie going to be going for the spray transfer, and he lands both frags, takes down Naf and Daps, and Optic, well, their statue-like play, this led them just being pushed back onto these pistols because Cloud9 now they're on 4. Their money starting to be built up once again. We're seeing the pinnacle, nothing. $10,500 sitting in the bank. On the flip side, Optic, they're struggling to even get to that 4K marker.
Yeah, and well, this is going to be a big position now for Cloud9. They managed a flawless round against a 4-buy of Optic. Optic now starting to gather a little bit of a loss bonus behind, but nothing too substantial just yet. Now they're going to go very aggressive though, and Tarek finding the first kill again. Will get the rifle for a matter of seconds, and in the meantime we're looking for the trade, but there is Mixwell. A little bit of a push. Automatic going to save the life of Skadoodle, who goes down to just 27 HP, but this is still a 3 versus 3. Mixwell with an AK, we know how deadly that can be. Naf also with a dig, and well, Mix grabs another one.
Not giving all, just really doing the damage for his team. That's going to be rattling off a couple shots to the Tech 9. Will find it, gets away by the skin of his teeth. The flame's really just going to be burning his feet, but burning his feet is all well and good, but he walks away on 6 HP. The nade going to land at the feet of nothing. He will go for the spray, misses Dap's life. Unfortunately, him missing Dap, I think that might have just ended it because he found a frag on towards Mix, but Naf was allowed to just peek around that corner and get himself into wood, and that's where the frag rolled in. That means that Optic, they are on 4. And that was a nice round for them to pick up, but some key mistakes being made by Cloud9.
They shouldn't have won that. That was a quick pistol rush that came in through the drop-down position. They took over map control and ended up just barreling towards that A site and eventually took down every single player in their wrath. And they've actually managed to save their economy off the back of that sort of win. It has reset their loss bonus, though, so no more 300-400 coming up in this round. Instead, it will be 1400 if they are to lose it, which would, of course, be pretty detrimental. They've initially gone very aggressively over towards this B site, and that could be a little bit of a problem because a lot of nades currently being thrown out. They're already taking some initial damage, but they're still going to continue with their push. 3 players currently on the site. The aggression now coming out, nothing in a decent position, but they're going to check it. Mixwell finding that first frag. Aggressive push, Mixwell doing it again. This leaves only a couple of players left, but it will be Skadoodle to find the next frag in this engagement.
Feels like just aggression is the trigger word for Optic because they're going to find another. Automatics trying to bring things back. Shroud going to take one on towards Rush. The bomb's still going to be ticking away. We have to see some movement because now it's all on Automatic's shoulders. The new boy in town. But is he going to be able to clutch out what is such a pivotal round for Cloud9? Because this team, they walk away with one round up, just one up their opposition. But even then, that bomb's still going to be just worming its way down. He does have the kit in hand. He has a bit of utility to expend, which is nice to see him using it. We'll go for the frag. Just unfortunately not quite going to work out. Dap's getting so damn low. Mixwell going to take him down. And well, I've got to give credit to Automatic. That was a valiant attempt. But there were just certain ingredients missing, which led to it actually being Optic who walk away with that round advantage. A 5-4 scenario. And the key thing about that round was, if Cloud9 took it, Optic, they would have been able to scrape through with something. We have a couple of low players here and there. But on the flip side, you look at it now and you go, well, $3,200, not enough.
Well, that's the basic idea when you have that upset round and then a follow-up round from Optic. Mixwell opens things up nicely, they win it, and then Cloud9 take the brunt of that economic drought. And, well, realistically, that's been a big problem for both of these teams. Round mistakes that have cost them their economy, and it happened to Optic in the last game, or just a little bit sooner with the pistol round coming in. But this is the way that Optic have now saved their economy. They're on the stronger side. We talk about it sort of that 10-5 scenario, and they want to be getting up and up and further into that sort of avenue, and 9-6 will be the sort of minimum position we'll see. It looks like we have had a little bit of a Go TV trouble, which isn't too much we can really do. It looks like it will bounce back, which is a nice little elastic band style of play. But it does mean we're still seeing this build up over towards that B site. Nothing too crazy should be coming in at this stage, but Stewie's in a decent position, could at least get close with the pistol.
Not only that, he just picked up a huge information play for his team because they got the early kind of warning system. But it feels like maybe an early warning might be one thing, but it still doesn't stop that wave from just rolling on over. And Optic, they're a very big tidal wave indeed, just a very clear-cut round, maximum 30 HP being dished out, if that. So unfortunately for Cloud9, it's not going to be happening just yet. But now they have money to play with. 7,300, nothing will 100% secure that opportunity if they so please to get an AWP in play, which we can't see being brought up. It's going to be falling straight into the hands of Skadoodle, who will be getting himself some body armor to boot and some utility to help him out. On the Optic side of things, of course, there's not really much to say. They can, of course, go for a fairly clean buy. Nothing really too unexpected to be witnessing just yet. It's just going to be the standard old AWP in hands of Naf and the 4 rifles to boot for the rest of their teammates.
Yeah, this is where we look towards what Optic can truly do on that T side, but at the same time, whether or not Cloud9 will be able to hold. Again, a couple of players aggressively pushing over towards the plat position to stop any counter pushes coming out. Tarek will be holding the angle. We're not seeing any real aggressive peaks from Skadoodle, playing a much more passive role. And this time they've actually switched up their position. It's not going to be automatic as the solo player. It will be Skadoodle with the AWP, just having that long range position all the way down on the opposing side. We have Daps waiting, but it will be this push now coming in, slowly edging its way forward. The bomb is not with them. It's not dedicated just yet. And realistically, I imagine that will be picked up by Daps, but it will be Naf. He's going to open onto Stewie. Now we're looking at Shroud. He's in a decent position here, already going to tag up one player, but he has to do a little bit more, and his life's going to be ended. This means the rush is now going onto the side. Tarek with him, and this is starting to get a little bit problematic. Nothing. He has to go huge here, and he will find one, but that's going to be it. Nixwell ends him. Automatic trades one back, but can Tarek do the damage? No, he can't. Automatic still going. We're back to a 2v1. How has it gone all the way back into this circumstance? Both players low, but Naf has an AWP.
Just not really left to how it's got this far. Naf gonna go for one shot, will miss it. That alone could be crucial. Automatic, he's so damn low. Naf just so close to finding him, and he will whip out the Tech 9 and connects the shot. That is huge right there, because now not only is it a 1 versus 1, but the HP is just so damn close between these two players. 45 on Naf, 34 on Skadoodle. But even then, what does HP matter when we're looking? They had 2 AWPs in play, but the big factor is just take a look at that clock. It is winding its way down. 7 seconds to play with. Naf, you have to do something. You have to get the bomb down. But why get the bomb down when you can find yourself a headshot with a Tech 9 and then get that bomb down? He does both of those tasks. And now the pause will roll in.
Yeah, 4 rounds in a row for the Optic side, and well, that round was hella close, but it still ends up with Cloud9 on the back foot. 2 versus 1. They probably should have got away with a little bit of luck going the way of Naf to find that Tech 9 shot through the smoke, even into the leg. I think it found the kill, so big work from him. In terms of their setups, I'm still a little bit skeptical. I think Automatic over on the A side didn't really work too well, but having Skadoodle away from the B side could work even worse. I feel like he's been a bigger factor of playing that AWP role. We saw Shroud have next to no impact, and the same from Stewie, who wasn't able to really do anything on the site. In fact, Automatic over on B was actually one of the better players. He did quite a bit of damage, but the main problem for me was you can't have 2 players do nothing, and that was the fact in that round. Naf, yes, he found the entry onto Stewie, but Shroud just wasn't there to return, and that's an even bigger problem at the moment. 7-4, it's nowhere near past the avenue where Cloud9 could come back. That's a definite factor. You can't say that they're out of this game just yet. They get a couple more rounds, and I'd say, hey, that's a decent half. But they've got to get a couple more rounds, and looking at the buy itself, we'll just have a couple of pistols. Yes, the loss bonus will be maxed in the next round, so no problems in that stance. But in terms of rounds, well, they're going to let them get to 8. Then they have the chance to fight back. If they lose that round, then we're looking at a 10-5 at best.
10-5 at best, not quite what we were expecting. But we discussed this at the start, and we were looking for an 11-4. 10-5, not far off. Now the clock will begin to wind its way back down again. Of course, we're looking at what should be a clear-cut round on paper. Cloud9, they are left just limited. They've taken themselves a tactical pause on the brink of their bye, just 1 round away. But some say that's a smart decision, some disagree. Why does it really matter? Why not focus on what actually counts, which will be Optic just headshotting away, just flying themselves to find that count, playing a very clear-cut round win. And for me, the pressure is not going to be on this round. It's almost standard stuff to expect what's going to happen. I'm actually looking to see what Cloud9 will do on their buy round. I'm really excited because they've clearly taken themselves a timeout. What can they change?
Well, yeah, a lot of it's going to be down to their positional play over towards that B site. I think that's going to be the bigger factor of all, because their A site hold, their rotations have been pretty quick, and they've been able to get the site back quite well. There was a couple of rounds where it ended up with just nothing, being a little bit late on the rotation. The same for Stewie over towards that pistol round. But other than that, I don't think A is the problem. I think B is the big problem. They haven't had the correct crossfires in play. Every once in a while they get a round that works, with Stewie going aggressive and sort of playing a couple of nice frags. Shroud then connects everything, but realistically this is where the problem is, and let's see if that has been fixed, because now there's a reaction coming out from Optic. They've decided to speed everything up, make this as fast as possible, not give them a chance to set anything up, throw smoke absolutely everywhere. It will be rushed to find one, but Stewie, he's maneuvering himself nicely. Shroud will combine to make this back into a 3 versus 4, but now we're looking at what can be done next. Shroud finds another as Mixwell finds a kill, and it's just looking like this is going backwards and forwards. It could go either way. Naf, he's now back towards the position with the AWP, but it's Daps to find the trade, already back into a 2v2.
They've caught them completely off guard, but the key play for me is now Automatic. His position alone could be huge. Naf, he seemed to have an inkling there was a player coming towards him from that angle, but it's actually Daps checking it.
Oh,
this is a huge crossfire, and that is it. Ladies and gentlemen, Automatic stepping up huge. And we'll find 2 frags apiece. Can't knock him at all. The problem there was Naf looked like he had an idea there was a player heading there, so I don't know why he just didn't go for the longer range pick with the AWP instead of relying on Daps getting up close and personal, which the big problem there, as we just witnessed, was they lined up perfectly for an easy spray transfer, should I say, because it's not even a spray transfer, it's just a continuous spray because both targets were lined dead center with each other.
Yeah, now we look at whether or not Cloud9 can confirm this round, though. They got the one. A little bit of a play that came up from Optic that was just basically in response to the pause. They went very aggressive to try and counter whatever setup was coming. And it was a nice idea. Unfortunately, it just fell right at the end where we saw the spray down from Automatic. In terms of this round, they've slowed things right back down. We got Daps playing that A hold position again to make sure nobody can go aggressive. And Automatic and Skadoodle sort of playing a little bit of a rotation position, allowing the B site to be slightly left covered, but still can rotate very quickly over. In terms of the actual hold he's got, he's actually going to look back the other way to try and stop them getting out of drop down if they were to go through the window. But that's where they're going to be going. They're going to be running towards him, not away from him. And realistically, Shroud's going to have to do something about that. 4 players now going for the full rotate over towards A. This leaves Automatic in a position where he has to be absolutely clinical. He has to take heads off, pretty much. He has to do everything necessary. He does now have some support. As you said before, when things go slow, you just rotate over towards this position, and there goes Automatic. He finds the first, looking for a little bit more, but Daps will be able to trade, and Mixwell finds another one as the rotating players are just cut off, as he's now holding that position. And we spoke about that drop-down point, that nobody was really there. Shroud needed to do it, and he didn't. And instead now, they're being pincered from 2 different directions. But there you go! What just happened? 3 players step up big and find every single frag necessary. Rush, he may be holding that angle, but now he has to find 2.
2 in 15 seconds, Tom. The time, that's a huge factor alone in that outcome, but unfortunately it's going to be just another AWP pick rolling on through. Somehow they walk away on top, but I'm just not sure how those frags even came in for Cloud9. Skadoodle doing some work of his own, nothing, picking up a frag here and there. We really can't knock any of these players because, albeit they might not be, on 11 or even 15 frags, they're all still fairly close. I think the lowest is on 8 and the highest is on 11, which is by all means not a hugely significant gap. And on the Optic side of things, it's a bit of a similar story. You do see a bit more fluctuating, but even then the damage has been done. A 6-8 scoreline. And now for me, the big question is, if Cloud9 finds 7, I'm very worried, because if C9 can have a strong T side, you'd look at this one and go, Optic, they should have done a better job on holding this one off.
And this has just been the last few rounds. They're going to go for this aggressive B play again. Nothing will be cut off as he tries to rotate from behind. Skadoodle will grab one back in return, and Stewie's position is actually crucial. He's managed to grab one, has to try and do more, but that's not going to be enough. It's a 3 versus 2. Shroud making his way back over. He'll get crushed as well. Automatic now, the last man left alive. He's going to try and come in from a flank behind, but this is looking like it has a 9-6 all over it. I don't think that's a particularly bad half for either team, although Optic, they could have had a little bit more to their books, but they've still got to finish this one off. Automatic, we've seen him get himself a double. To get a triple is a different thing altogether. They should be expecting this angle, already throwing out counter nades. They don't have many positions to check now after taking quite a bit of map control. And in terms of this push, I don't think there's anything he can really do. They've spotted him out. They're going to spray away, but it will be rushed to end it with a triple.
A clear cut round rolling on. A bit of damage being done nonetheless. But it will mean we find ourselves in a stalemate of a 9-6 half, favouring Optic. Now, let's just talk about the fact that we discussed rather heavily, in fact, kind of the sides on Cobblestone. Taking into account how both of these teams have been playing, you know, these individual players who, let's be realistic, looking at these lineups, a lot of these teams do rely on individual players. So taking that all into account, who for you at least, and this time I'm going to put this one on you because you asked me quite a lot, who do you think is going to take that second half?
I do think it still comes down to pistols, because I don't think a 9-6 is particularly bad. I think 10-5 is sort of the ideal for the Ts. Anything more than that is great. For the CT side, getting 6 is definitely something to work with. I know that for a fact that Na'Vi can do it with 4. In terms of that pistol, though, it's the difference normally. Obviously, if you win the follow-up rounds, which some of the times they haven't been able to do, but it's the difference between a 0-round difference and a 6-round difference. Now, if Optic get that sort of 6-round head start, the economy built up, they can get the AWPs onto either Naf, Mixer, whoever you like, Tarek, then there's a big chance that they'll take this over the line. If you look towards Cloud9, if they get that pistol, they're on their T side, they have these individual players who can just bring it over the line. Skadoodle's been great at clutching out rounds. Then sure, they're going to be the ones to take it over the line, but to realistically say who would do it before the pistol is done, I think I'd have to be a bit of a psychic. Either way, there's Tarek starting things off very, very nicely with a couple of headshots. Of course, whether or not they'll be able to hold this CT side as well. Again, it's still a new CT side, has to be said. Either way, they're doing very nice work so far in this pistol round. No real response just yet. A little bit of damage done onto Tarek, but not anything too crazy. The rotation now comes in to try and make their way back towards drop down, but of course it's 5 players on the CT side. They're going to have every single angle covered. They've even gone for a little bit of a surrounding factor, and look at this. They're going to come in from behind. Nah, this is just cruel. He'll get taken down eventually, but he's done enough damage. Tarek still just baiting around this sort of position to try and grab nothing and end this round in its tracks. Skadoodle now, he has the bomb. That's the only thing really in his favor.
It's something for him to play with, but even then, with a bomb on your back, in a 1 versus 4, that's still reliant on you hitting those shots with the Glock, and unfortunately, the Glock is not the most favoured pistol in the game. And Rush, well, he will deliver a fairly fatal headshot straight to his cranium, which means it will be Optic now on 10. And of course, I do love the fact that, you know, you glossed over the question. It's a shame that I can't get out of it that easily at the start of the cast, but jokes aside, Optic, they are on 10. We can't knock that pistol round performance at all. The big factor for me is this follow-up round from Cloud9, because they're investing in this one. They're putting everything they've got into this round. It'll be Tech 9s, it's pistols galore, everything you could possibly desire in terms of pistol round scenario. But then I look at Optic and go, they've got 2 UMPs in play, they've got FAMASs in play, they've got rifles. This should be an easy mop-up round. But we'd be lying if we said we haven't seen these pistols just go huge in the past. Yeah,
of course. This map has a lot of close range angles, and we can already see the aggressive positions coming out, but it will be Daps and Mixwell combining, opening things up nicely to start. Automatic will be able to get one, but the trade is quickly there. Stewie and nothing now, the remaining 2 players, and they don't have the most long range of the pistols. Let's put it into that context. Stewie now just looking to try and do a little bit more, and the timing will be against him.
Context is key, but unfortunately, the narrative behind this one, it's Cloud9 just falling down the ranks, as both rounds have been very much a clear-cut fashion for Optic. They're now on their 11th. Cloud9 can't really respond to this one. There is no crazy force-up strategies that you could look at this one and go, at least that's sane. And I was a little bit worried that maybe they were going to try and do something crazy, but thankfully we are on kind of just planet normal, so to speak, as they are just going to be going for the save. They play the expected option, which means they're just going to be relying on these P250s and Glocks. You can hear the sound just going off, and well, it might be a bit of an interesting sound, but it's still a sound nonetheless of those shots popping off. But Naf, he's the first man to go aggressive. We'll take down Stewie. Looking to follow up, will be Tarek just rounding off a couple more, but Shroud's actually going to find one with a Glock. Not quite sure how he got away with that.
Yeah, and it seems like in this game, Optic are rectifying a lot of their previous mistakes. They're not losing too many players against these pistols. They're really looking a lot calmer on Cobblestone, and it's quite refreshing, really. I thought that there would be some problems with a new player added in. It's a bit of a broken record scenario, but you have to mention it. They won't have their setups all worked out. I don't really know how any in-game leader could have the setups worked out that quickly. You would have to pretty much just be a perfect fit for the team for that to work out. Obviously, on the other side of things, it's a similar context, but I'm sort of impressed so far, but now we see whether or not they can do it in the buy round, and this is where I'm really looking for what Cloud9 have to offer on the T side. A lot of teams still go for that barrel out B and try to almost just out-aim their opponents. We know that they have some very talented players, but I'd say their opposition are the same. Smoke will actually push them back a little bit, and now we're going to see this peek from Tarek trying to take this map control. Will miss the shot, and that could have been a perfect start to the round. But now we look at the rest of the Cloud9 lineup. They're going to make a very aggressive push coming onto this A site, leaving Mixwell in the prime position. He needs to be the one to try and bring this one back. The flashbang catches Dewey a little bit, but it's the other players doing the work. Automatic and Rush. Well, Automatic is killed by Daps, and then Rush comes in. This just leaves 3 players to try and do the work. Nothing. He isn't going to get blinded by that. And in fact, Shroud is going to get one with the fire. This just leaves a couple of trades to come in, but it's still the 2 versus 2. Now we're looking for the remaining Ts to fight this one back.
It is that 2 versus 2. Looking to see if Shroud can do anything. He will go for the peek to try and trade out his teammate. The answer is flat out going to be a denied no. Optic, they're going to get themselves on 13. And let's just talk about Mixwell, because he was a player who we did kind of heavily rely on very early into this round. The timing from Cloud9 with those flashes, they were perfect.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
It wasn't getting onto the site that caused them the problems. To me, it was once they were on the site, they didn't quite know how to go about things. They got very much confused. They were a bit all over the place. They were darting around Van. That's where things start to fall apart and crumble. And the one thing I'm looking at for Cloud9 is maybe they don't really have the excuses. Yes, Automatic is a relatively new player as well, but I still feel like they've had a longer time than Tarek. And also, even with Tarek, I don't really feel like that's much of an excuse, especially on a map like Cobble, which is one of the most common maps for these teams to play on individually, and also both of the teams where Automatic and Tarek came from also play.
Well, it's more the CT side that I always look for those team play pushes, but in the meantime, it will be this aggressive push from Cloud9. Tarek doing the work, looking for a little bit more, but it's Nothing and Shroud combining to bring this into a 4 versus 2. Now we look at what the CT side will actually opt to do in this scenario. Will they try and aggressively take this one back? I think if Daps finds a frag, they may go for something a little bit more, but now they seem a little bit more isolated. I don't feel like that's a smart decision. They do have the money to buy back up. Of course, they won the bonus round, which, well, it's named the bonus round. You make a little bit of extra money and you still have the extra cash to rebuy if necessary. They then moved on to an AWP, which Shroud has now collected, ready for, well, probably Skadoodle, I'd imagine. But in terms of the actual position, I don't think Optic are really too worried just yet. They're waiting to see if they can find any exit kills. Nothing may be the one to fall into that trap. This boost isn't too common, and that's because you don't really sit in this mid position too often. That's a free frag, a little bit of extra damage, and an even more potential round for Optic if they can win the next. Of course, we have seen Cloud9 string rounds together. In the last couple of maps, they've done it for sure. But now they're behind, and that's where I'm looking for them to step up.
They're behind, but it's also by a fairly significant margin. And the biggest problem about margins is that's a whole different ballgame when you take into account that there might be a big gap between the 2 scorelines. But the most important and most notable gap is Optic are 3 rounds away from going to LAN. Cloud9 on the flip side, they have a much longer road in front of them.
Yeah, well, 3 rounds from staying at home. That's definitely not the best scenario for anyone. In terms of this round, a little bit of early aggression coming out from Shroud. Just going to peek, see if there's anybody there. Really much of a chance. Oh, this position from Tarek. He's found a gap, but then they flash him and he's going to get caught a little bit. Not doing too much damage. He will fall back still with the AWP in hand. Of course, we spoke about the fact that they'll be able to get a buyback on the board. However, this position from Nothing is just, hey, Nothing, make as much noise as you can. The rest of us, we're going to make our way over towards that A side. They'll hear the burn. That will still give away a little bit of position. And look at this. There's still 4 players on the B side. There is a slight rotation now coming in from Daps, but if they were to burst onto the site now, what is the chance of them making this happen? And Nothing, how does he not get that frag? That should have been easy to take down Rush. Now it's a little bit more questionable already. We see a slight rotation coming in from the Optic side, but it's still going to be solo Mixwell on the site as the remaining players start making their way all the way up the ramp, taking a lot of map control. But here we go, the rotation coming in. They've got 3 players in a crossfire now, and already they should be spotting out a couple of players. The flashbangs coming in. It's going to come down to a lot of individual prowess from the Cloud9 side, as there's already 3 players on the site.
His teammate just mollies Shroud out of position. It will walk away with him getting a frag, but even then, Shroud going to find one more. That seems to just be crumbling somewhat. Now Mixwell very up close and personal towards this wall, trying to stay alive as that Molotov will just be burning away in his ears. Will finally go for the peak, finds a tough one, takes down Skadoodle. No reaction coming in at all. Shroud, he's going to find him one, bring it back to a 1 versus 2, finds a headshot, but still not going to be enough. And my first port of call in that scenario is to talk about why on earth did they decide to molly their own teammate. That is a critical mistake. And Cloud9, if you haven't quite realised just yet that you're 2 rounds away from staying at home and not going to LAN, now is a bloody good time to clock onto things. Because that was a crucial mistake. If they didn't force Stewie out of position, he would have been up close in towards vents, would have broke through, would have had the perfect lurk, killed 2 players on balcony, which would have been a very clear-cut scenario for him to walk away with a win, and that would have been a round on the board.
Yeah, it's definitely a much more possible scenario. There's an aggressive peek from Tarek, though, opening up the round and saying, hell no, you ain't getting a quick push onto B. Already opens things up nicely. The nades as well, taking automatic down to just 15 HP. And this was actually a collab, which is, looking at their positions, is definitely more possible. Already this quick push has been, well, faulted completely, as a lot of the players will go pushing back. Now we'll just see Stewie go alone. He's going to play around these smokes, try and do what he does best. Looking for the kill. We'll find one where it's actually nothing. Now he's got himself a decent position. Now still on the site somehow, not being taken down just yet. But there is Stewie finding another one. And now look at Daps. Oh, if they check, they haven't checked. This could be an easy couple of frags. He doesn't get the second, but look how low they are. It's going to be down to Mixwell. This nade, it could do it, but he's not going to be finding it. It doesn't connect. He's now down to 4. He just looks at Skadoodle and like, wait, let me line this one up. I've got to get my protractor out. Doesn't work out at all. Now it's just down to him. Can he get the first? No, he can't. Oh my god, I thought he was going to have that.
That first frag coming in from Stewie towards drop, I think people drastically underestimate just how important that frag was, because he pushed right through the smoke, found himself a frag on towards second room, which basically opened up drop zone, and, well, jokes aside, he actually managed to get himself basically a clear-cut pathway for his team to get on out of drop and onto the site. And then from there, of course, we had the protractor madness, which I don't think there's anyone in the world who could explain why that one did unfold in the fashion that it did. But now we still find ourselves moving on to that 23rd round. The buy is still in the hands of Cloud9 Optic. They have pistols in play this time around. You can see them just spam it away, but Tarek, he still manages to find one. Takes down Shroud through the smoke.
Yeah, he's got himself a rifle in this scenario. It looks like they're evening out the cash a little bit as they force to try and stop themselves having to eco. If they do win this round, Cloud9, this is their best opportunity to get back into the game, but already losing that first frag, they do definitely have the better buy. There's no question of that, but we've seen both these teams make mistakes before, and there's a huge chance they can make it again. In terms of the positioning of Cloud9, they are looking like they're about to hit drop down with a couple of players over towards Plat with plenty of time left. They don't have to do this just yet. They have loads of time to play with. And realistically, looking at the setup, still 2 players over towards A.
I don't want to ride off these pistols at all, Tom, because in the beginning, just to get a little bit paranoid, you take a look at the positions they're holding. They are playing the perfect up-close and personal position, something that Cloud9 don't tend to opt to do when they're on the pistols. And now Tarek, he's going to find just one more. Any more he does is huge, as he finds a third, takes down Scar, goes
oh, what a lineup!
Connects every single shot, finds 5 frags, and that ace, that could win them the series, that could qualify them for LAN, because, ladies and gentlemen, Cloud9, they have barely even $3,000, and that's only on one player to scrape through into this round. Tech-9s and pistols galore. Eat your heart out, because Cloud9, that's all you've got. You are 1 round away from staying at home and making it nowhere. Optic, on the other hand, well, I bet you're glad you picked up Tarek now, because he perhaps just single-handedly stabilised things.
Pretty good. I think it's going okay so far.
I think it's going well, you know.
Acing in potentially one of the last rounds to get you to land, but Dabs, he's about to get overwhelmed. Stewie, he's not done just yet. Tarek will go walking past his counterpart, and now Stewie, he's just still going. Nothing, finds another one. Cloud9, they're not done yet. They've not given up hope, but Mixwell, he'll grab one back. It's not looking like a safe scenario. Now, he's going to be completely blinded by the pot flash, and now he's the only one left alive. A complete turnaround of pistols doing their work. It looks like all of Tarek's work may have been in vain, and Stewie just goes ham in this round with the tech.
It would have been a fitting end for Optic to walk away with that one there and then. The Cloud9 are proving they are not giving up just yet. And I've got to say, as much as it would have been great for Optic to walk away with that one off the back of Tarek, the closer this one is, the better, because we want the best possible team to make it through, Tom. That is the crucial factor when it comes down to this series. And Cloud9, they don't want to be just walked on over, especially when you take into account that only yesterday, this was a smooth 2-0 for them.
And now we will see the buy back on both teams. It's not a particularly good one, but Optic have made it work before. A quick push coming out from Cloud9, though. They're going to make their way onto Plat. Naf is in the corner. Tarek up close with the pistol. They have to be a little bit careful of this one. He's already done the work with the rifle. They've got Mixwell. They're going to go for a little bit of a jump, but they haven't spotted anything out. Now the counter flash is coming. It will be a quick push from Shroud and Stewie, who are combining over towards Plat. It's looking like this round may be as good as done already. And realistically, do the remaining players go and save at this stage, or are they really going to try and stay and fight versus 5?
Looks like they are just going to be rekindling their hope as they will back off. Go for a bit of a pep talk at a corner per se, as they are just going to be going for a flat-out save. 2 Famouses and a 5-7, maybe looking towards Daps to see if he can have a bit of an impact. But even then, the armor will be the crucial factor and the crucial reason why he should also be backing up his teammates and going for that save. And now, the context of this scenario is, let's take a look at this one, Tom, because Optic, they're on 50, and they have no need to worry now. Any round that they can pick up, that's a win. And by win, I mean legitimate entire series win. But also the rounds they lose, yes, they do want to be close to this one, right where it is, but at the same time, if worse comes to worse, they have overtime to contend with. On the Cloud9 side of things, it's a much different story.
Yeah, this is, well, Cloud9 have a long way to fight back, but economy-wise, they do have the ability to do it. It's more the rounds. One round coming out from Cloud9, one round from Optic even, one round from Cloud9, we've just seen that actually, but one round on the bat for Optic, and they take this one over the line. Realistically, in this round, I'd say there's no reason to force. In the next, they'll have a little bit of extra cash and be able to come up with a buy. We've already seen what one rifle can do in the hands of Tarek, who's having an absolutely huge series, topping the board by quite a margin, currently on 25 frags, and, well, 5 of those came just a couple of rounds ago. Now we're looking to see what this stack can do. We see 4 players over towards A. Unfortunately, we see 5 over towards B. And unless Tarek really is some sort of god of CS and can do it all with the USP, I would hope that this is going to be a nice, easy round for Cloud9. Just going to be sat in the smoke, sort of waiting. Surely somebody's going to walk into him here. And I'm not sure how he's still alive, just sort of walking around. There we go. Nothing. And Automatic will find the first couple of frags. This is going to be should be a nice, easy cleanup. But you have to remember there's still some rifles in play. Rush, he's on the site, going to look for one, not going to find anything. Mixwell will grab one in return and switch over to an AK. Now it looks like he's trying to get himself out of there, because that is a pretty worthy upgrade. Something to play with in the next round. Daps, he can just buy off the back of armor, so not really anything too crazy for him, and could even go hunting a little bit. They're going to try this boost again. It's already been used once, but it could work.
It's already been used once, but at the same time, you look at the Cloud9 setup, I don't think the thing that's playing on their mind right now is, are they going to boost over towards Connector on a safe round scenario? I have a feeling there's just a little bit more playing on their heads in regards to maybe, oh yes, we have to string together another 4 more rounds to take us the full distance, and then we have to contend with overtime. Shroud actually checking that one, really cutting it nice and close. Mixwell's just so close to finding himself a frag nonetheless. Going for the peak, the pistol could seal the deal. Now, the big question I've got, will Daps push forward and try and go for the gun? Certainly could go for it and risk it, especially when that bomb does go off. I have a feeling that might be the strategy he's going for. He's going to be going for the push. Nothing will catch Mixwell off guard, but Daps, he's still going to pick up a rifle, so it's
a 50-50. They keep one, they lose one. Now they'll have the buyback on board, and this is where we see what they can do. This is where we see if they have the cojones to take it over the line, or whether they will just let Cloud9 back into this one. I have to say at this stage, I'm not sure they would deserve it. Optic really fought back all the way on Cash. Didn't have a very good Mirage, but looking much stronger on Cobblestone. It's going to be that B push again. Cloud9 getting pretty predictable, but in terms of the A push, there's still 2 players over there, so it's just going to be down to these 3. However, this one man here, he's done it himself already. Can his team combine to do it again? Now it's going to be the push coming in. Here comes this push. Tarek ready in the corner to try and stop anything here. Rush has already made his rotation. We actually see a few more players, and here's the crossfire. They're going to spray down 2 each. It's going to be a 3 versus 3. Looking to see who comes out on top. Nobody really doing anything at this stage. The smoke's just holding them all back. Naf is up close and personal. Daps trying to hold this off. Naf going to be finding one. Mixwell with one more. It's only nothing left, and he's going to find himself one, but it doesn't look like there's anything he can do here. The crossfire is made. Mixwell will end this, and it is Optic to go through to the finals.
I'm not sure what there is to say. Optic, they're a team who, let's be realistic, they've undergone quite a hefty amount of peril. It's not been the most smooth sailing ride. They've gone from being a team who entered the scene going, we want to pick up one of the strongest teams in North America. They had a fairly bumpy ride, didn't quite get the results they wanted. They qualified for a major, then proceeded to not have the greatest performance in the world, didn't quite go the way they wanted. But now, picking up Tarek, what is there to say? That worked out huge for them.
He's a beast. That round alone was beautiful. They had 1 rifle and 4 pistols, and he killed everyone.
I would still say that's one of the most series winning rounds that I've seen in a long while, because I would say it was series winning. Even just from an economical perspective, it smashed them to pieces. It got them some momentum. It did get broke straight back by Cloud9. But as we just witnessed, it wasn't enough to walk away with a win.
The other thing for me is not just economy and actual positioning or anything of those sorts. If you see one man take down 5 players on a site, you just straight away, if you have 5 rounds, you go, okay, we can do that again. And they did. Massive performance coming out from Optic. I have to say, I almost feel pride. I'm not even Canadian or American or from Spain, but I'm very proud of what I just witnessed from that team. Really stepped up big. They're going to get a little bit of extra time to bring themselves to the LAN itself, playing for $300,000 against some of the best teams in the world. Either way, we will have another match just later tonight. It's not going to be us. It will be, well, someone you know probably a little bit better. It will be Mega Man
and Dustin Murray, I believe.
Yeah, so you'll get to see those guys for all the people who hate us Brits. I'm sorry. But either way, that's going to be it from us for tonight. And actually for, well, pretty much this whole stage, that's all the qualification done. We will be doing some WSG stuff. If you want to check out some Dubai level CS, you know, I'm totally going for the CS and not to sun it up.
Yeah, definitely not going to go enjoy the weather or anything at all.
But that is all for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. Congratulations to Optic. It's been an absolute pleasure to cast, and we will be seeing you again shortly.